the birth rate is very low in almost every country. And it's something, unless that changes, civilization will disappear. America had the lowest birth rate, I believe, ever. That was last year. Places like Korea, the birth rate is 1/3 replacement rate. So that means in 3 generations, Korea will be 3 or 4% of its current size. And nothing seems to be turning that around. Humanity is dying. And it's just not something we evolved to react to.
The American dream is so dead, people don't even want to pass it on to their own kids. I read an article about how this is the hugest decline, right, in Americans having children. Americans are not having enough children for the first time in history to replace, themselves, right? But why would somebody bring children into this world, in America specifically? Why would you purposely have a baby in America? Why would a woman even do that? You don't have any control over your body. Government has ultimate control over your vessel. Hell, government will even keep you alive as a host when you're dead, just to make sure it can force you to give birth to that baby. So I don't see the benefit for women, frankly, to have babies. America is not a place for families. It's obviously not a place for families. It's not set up that way. They tax families into oblivion. So why would you sign up for that? So no, that's why people aren't having babies. America, if you want young people to have babies, how about you make this economy affordable? Because right now it's not. It's really set up just for rich people to have babies. So go have the rich women. Oh, that's right. They don't want to have rich women have a whole bunch of babies because their kids are not going to work in factories and stuff. It's supposed to be our kids work in factories. Like I said, that's why people are not having kids. Why the hell would we have kids? Why would anybody have kids in this environment? Why would anybody have kids in this environment? It's not a good environment for children.
Women aren't having children. Women aren't having children. The birth rate is declining. Yeah, no shit. No shit. First of all, the dating pool has hazardous waste in it, and it needs to be investigated by the EPA, if the EPA is even a thing. Like, if you're anything like me, I'm not having kids unless I'm married. So the fact that marriage is your first hurdle, and, it's just not looking good out here. So, that's number one. That's number one. And yes, you can get married and get divorced and have kids and be a single mom, whatever. But we're just not starting off from a disadvantage, first of all. Second of all, once you do get married and have the kid, everything is so fucking expensive, you can't afford to have children. Hello? The economy, are we confused? What are you not getting about that? The economy is not an environment to have children.
Yeah, I'm hearing that too. I'm hearing people that are married with one child saying, we need to wait. I don't think it's time to have another one because we're not going to be able to afford it. It's going to throw our whole life off. It might mess everything up. I'm hearing that happen too. All right. So I think it's the economy, like I said. If you're in another country, it's easier. If you go to, say, Africa or something like that. You in Thailand or something like that. You can raise a family off of $2,000 to $3,000 per month. But in America, that's not possible. And a lot of people are not making $7,000, $8,000 a month in America. There are people that are, but a lot of people still aren't. A lot of people still making minimum wage.
We can barely take care of ourselves. Third, if you do get married, you do have the funds to take care of your kid. You're going to send your kid to school, and are they going to come back home safely? The kids are not coming home. The kids are not making it home from school. Okay? But you want your guns. You want your pew-pews. You want your stuff. So, okay, priorities. Fourth, let's say they make it through high school. They go to college. And now I'm going to be in debt because we don't have free higher education. I'm going to be in debt. And then my kid's going to graduate school and not get a job because of AI.
That's right. Let's talk about the people that don't have a job right now. There are, at this point, I could say millions of Americans that don't have a job right now. So they add to those numbers substantially. Why would they go out and have a child when they can't even provide for themselves? They still stand with their parents. You see what I'm saying? It's a whole lot of that going on. That's adding to the numbers, ain't it? These are the real things that are happening. And it's not just America. It's happening in China, South Korea. It's happening everywhere. Except the continent. The continent, their population is still growing in number.
But they're pushing AI because we're not having babies. That is why they're so into AI. They're not concerned about babies. They're concerned about workers. They're looking at the data and they're saying, oh, women 20 to 39, 52% of them don't have kids. We need to have a workforce AI. So since your priorities are so fucked up, we're not having kids. And it's going to stay like that until you fix it, which you won't, because you're building a fucking WWE shit for what is our country? What is the world? This is just, no, we're not having kids.
Thing is, this is playing into their plan. They wanted it to be like this. So the robots can do it. The robots going to be having kids. They got artificial wombs and everything. At these times, it's also going to be harder for those with the child too. That's in the scriptures as well. All right. So yes, you're supposed to multiply, but at the same time, in the last days, it's definitely going to be harder for those with children to say run, flee, hide. Now, if you're already stable in the location that you're at, that's a little different. But we're talking about people trying to get out, trying to flee from Babylon, people that don't have the money. They got to work, so they can't homeschool their children to protect them from, the agendas that are being pushed in the schools, from the predators that are the teachers in the schools. It's a lot of that going on too. From the digital IDs that will be enforced for your child to go to school. That's the thing too. These are things we all have to talk about. That'll be a hindrance. That's going to be a little harder.
They said, be fruitful and multiply. But America said, not. They said, be fruitful and multiply. But America said, not without a payment plan. So I told y'all before, having a child in America is now officially a luxury item. And I'm not being funny this time. The experts are saying it cost over $300,000 to raise a child from birth to 18 years old in America. So congratulations, parents. You're not just raising kids. You're running a long-term investment portfolio with no expectation of a return. Now, I'm going to tell you the part of this that gets me the most. So they say it costs about $16,000 to $17,000 a year on the low end to raise a kid. And I went low end. What child they talking about? Because kids today out here eating like grown men, needing shoes every 3 months, and then don't let them get sick. Having a kid today is like signing up for a lifetime subscription you can't cancel, and it just keeps getting more and more expensive every year. So you don't have to wonder why people are not having children. It's not that they don't want kids. They're just not willing to go broke to prove that they can have kids. And let's be real, $300,000 a year up until 18, parenting does not stop when your child turns 18. So my question is, do y'all think that this 300,000 number is too low? Or are we finally going to be honest about how expensive survival really is in America, especially if you have a child?
Now, I'm going to be real. They've been throwing these numbers around since I was a kid. I don't know where everybody else grew up, but it couldn't have cost $300,000 to raise a child because my parents didn't make $300,000 a year, and they still don't. And we were raised, me and my brother both, and everybody that I know in my family and everybody I know that grew up in the same area we grew up in. So I know those numbers aren't true. I'm gonna be real with you. It don't cost that much. It can't. Otherwise, people wouldn't be doing it. But yo, let me know what y'all think about what's going on. I want to hear y'all thoughts. I want to hear y'all opinions. I want to hear, are you part of this 52%? Drop that in the comment section below as well. Hey, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Once again, it's your brother YT. As y'all know, I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace to my Hebrew fam. Shalom.